Every serious gardener knows that the health of your soil determines everything that follows: seed vigor, yield quality, pest resistance, and even how long your plants live. But during World War II, when chemical fertilizers were scarce, farmers had to innovate. Out of that necessity came one of the most powerful natural tonics for soil ever created: compost tea. This wasn't the modern version you see on garden blogs today. It was a living, breathing brew of microorganisms, nutrients, and organic acids that turned even the poorest soil into fertile ground. They called it liquid gold for a reason. Unlike synthetic fertilizers, World War II compost tea wasn't designed to dump nitrogen and phosphorus into the soil in one go. It was built to feed the soil life itself. The farmers who developed this method understood something that science only caught up with decades later. When you nurture microbial diversity, your plants thrive naturally. They discovered that when compost is steeped in water, the beneficial bacteria, fungi, and protozoa multiply rapidly, creating a living solution that can be poured directly onto soil or sprayed on leaves. What set the World War II version apart was how they brewed it. They didn't just soak compost in a bucket. They used active aeration and natural catalysts that fed microbial populations. Think of it as brewing a beer for your soil, except instead of yeast, you're cultivating a massive colony of beneficial microbes. When poured on the garden, this solution triggers soil activity almost overnight. Roots start feeding more efficiently, organic matter breaks down faster, and plants begin showing that deep green resilience that only comes from living soil. To recreate this historic formula, you don't need fancy equipment. What you need is precision, patience, and quality ingredients. Start with a bucket or barrel that holds at least 5 gallons of water. It's best to use rainwater or dechlorinated tap water because, honestly, chlorine kills the very microbes we're trying to grow. Fill the container and let it sit for a few hours before adding anything. Next, add about 1 part high-quality, mature compost for every 10 parts of water. If you're brewing in a 5-gallon bucket, that's roughly half a gallon of compost. The compost should smell earthy and clean, not sour or rotten. If it smells bad, it's anaerobic and won't work. Tie the compost in a porous sack or an old cotton shirt so it doesn't break apart and clog the brew. Now, the real secret: a microbial food source. World War II farmers often used unsulfured molasses, fish emulsion, or even leftover whey from cheese making. These provide sugars and proteins that the microbes feed on, multiplying in the process. For a 5-gallon batch, add 1 tablespoon of molasses and 1 tablespoon of liquid fish fertilizer. Mix thoroughly until dissolved. To keep the brew oxygenated, something World War II growers did by manually stirring several times a day, you can use an aquarium air pump today for consistent results. Aerate for 24 to 36 hours at room temperature. You'll know it's ready when the smell becomes pleasantly earthy, like fresh soil after rain. The foam that forms on top means microbial activity is at its peak. Once your compost tea is ready, you really want to use it straight away. Microbes begin dying off after 48 hours without oxygen, so timing does matter. There are 2 primary ways to apply it. The first is a soil drench, which is ideal for boosting microbial populations in the root zone. Simply pour the tea around the base of your plants at a ratio of 1 part tea to 4 parts water. For example, 1 liter of compost tea mixed with 4 liters of water can treat a small garden bed. The second method is foliar feeding, spraying it directly on the leaves. This was a trick many World War II gardeners used when their soil was weak. The beneficial microbes coat the leaf surface, forming a living biofilm that protects against fungal and bacterial pathogens. It also helps plants absorb micronutrients directly through their pores. Always strain your tea through fine cloth before spraying to prevent clogging your sprayer. Apply during early morning or late evening when sunlight is gentle, and repeat every 2 weeks for best results. Modern fertilizers deliver fast results but leave behind a biological desert. Compost tea, on the other hand, brings life back into balance. It doesn't just feed plants, it restores the natural food web of the soil. Each cup you pour inoculates the ground with bacteria that fix nitrogen, fungi that extend the root network, and protozoa that recycle nutrients efficiently. Over time, you'll notice richer soil structure, fewer pests, and a natural resistance to disease that synthetic inputs just can't match. World War II-era gardeners didn't talk about soil microbiomes or enzyme activity. They simply observed that plants grew better, healthier, and stronger when fed with compost tea. The method survived because it worked under harsh conditions where nothing else did, and it still works today, especially if you're gardening organically or trying to revive tired soil. If you're growing leafy greens, you can boost nitrogen levels by adding a spoon of alfalfa meal or worm castings to your compost bag. For fruiting crops like tomatoes or peppers, a bit of kelp meal helps provide trace minerals and potassium. For fungal-dominant brews, perfect for trees and shrubs, use compost rich in woody materials and brew for 48 hours instead of 24. Consistency is key. One good brew won't change your soil forever, but regular applications will. If you apply compost tea every 2 weeks through the growing season, you'll start to notice changes in soil texture, color, and even smell. That's the sign of a healthy ecosystem rebuilding itself beneath the surface. In a world obsessed with quick fixes, it's easy to overlook the simple, time-tested methods that built fertile lands before industrial farming took over. Compost tea is one of those methods that bridges old wisdom and modern understanding. When you pour this living brew into your soil, you're not just feeding your plants. You're reviving a legacy of self-reliant, sustainable gardening that carried families through hard times. So stop throwing away your liquid gold, start brewing your own World War II-era compost tea, and let your garden feel what true fertility tastes like. If you found this guide valuable, subscribe to Gentle Herb Living for more time-tested soil recipes, natural gardening secrets, and regenerative practices that bring your soil back to life. Share this with someone who still believes healthy soil is the foundation of a free, thriving garden.